Hi everyone, Dennis Foley from Acoustic Fields. When people come to our studio, especially our new studio here in LA, and we'll do a new series of videos on that, one of the first things they say is that they can hear everything. And I think that's important. So today we're going to talk a little bit about how to connect emotionally to your music. There's certain criteria that we've discovered that you really have to have in order to have that connectivity, and I think that's what we're all after. We're all after some way to connect emotionally to something these days. As crazy as it is, but the bottom line here is there are some steps that you can take with your soundstage, with your room, with your audio presentation to get you closer to connecting emotionally to the music. The first and foremost we've discovered is definition. You have to be able to hear everything that's in the source. You have to be able to hear and understand clearly everything that's in the recording. So you have to be able to define what is there and be able to hear it. If you want to test this out, do a live recording and play something yourself if you can, and then put it into your system and play it back and see if you can hear everything that you did. If you can't, then you have a room issue. It's not your gear, it's the room causing the problem. So definition is really critical. And the next issue that's really critical in how to connect emotionally to your music is balance. You've got to be able to hear everything equally. Those of you familiar with real-time analyzers, you want all the bars, whatever the octave range you've chosen for measurement, to balance out. You don't want one part being higher than the other constantly, the middle coming up, the high frequencies coming up, definitely the low end bumping up. You want a nice smooth balance, plus or minus 1 or 2 dB variance. You've got to have balance. Every note has to be represented. Every note has to live and die on its own volition before the next note comes. If your room is not that resolved to allowing that to happen, there's ways that you can fix it. Imaging, very, very important. A lot of people like a broad image. A lot of people like pinpoint imaging. It doesn't matter what your preference is, but you need to have a strong image so that you can focus your brain and your energies in that area, and everything else that transpires after that you can deal with. But a strong central image, especially for our vocals, is critical. And finally, I don't know if it's last on the list in importance. To me, it's the most important thing in a room, is diffusion. Because what would be an ideal way for us to listen to our hi-fi systems or do our work in music? It would be outside. It would be with no room boundary surfaces. It would be no floors, no walls. Well, we'd have to have the floor. No walls and no ceiling. If we set our system up outside, and I've done this, I've set my system outside in the country and played it, it sounds completely different than it does in my room, even though my room sounds good. So it's just, the boundary surfaces that we are placed upon and have to work in as defined by our rooms. What does diffusion do? Diffusion affects the spatiality and localization of our brains. With proper diffusion in a room, our brains do not see, if you will, the distance in our rooms, the distance from the rear wall to the front wall, the distance from the floor to the ceiling. So it has a way of tricking our brains into thinking that the boundary surfaces that we have in our rooms are actually larger than they are. And what a great thing. You want to have your music and everything sound much larger than it actually is. So definition, balance, imaging, and diffusion, 4 ways that you can kind of use as a checklist in your current system, and it'll help you to connect better emotionally to your music. And that's, I believe, the goal we all have. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, give me a thumbs up so I know that it had value to you. And please, if you have any questions, leave them in the comment section, and I'll be more than happy to answer them for you. Alternatively, if there are other topics that you wish to discuss or see discussed in a video presentation, send me an email, info@acousticfields.com, and we'll get them on our list and get them done for you. I release a new video about every week. So stay tuned to our YouTube channel and keep updated on our new videos.